Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing a single page layout. This is the first day of school last year, the 25-26 year, for my daughter Taylor, who just graduated. And she is going to EVIT to complete her vet assistant certificate so that she can move on and get her vet tech degree. And so this was the first day of school for her as a first year. And now I'm going to do the same thing for this year now that she is a second year student. So here's her pictures. I tried to take them same. The lighting wasn't the same. And I did a full body and a close-up instead. But she's a second year student this year, which means she gets to wear green. So I'm going to recreate this page to match her new scrub color so that these are the same. I did this all with stuff that was in my stash. A lot of it was actually in my scraps, and I'm going to do the same thing this time. So we're going to bring in a white base. This is a white willow. I printed out my pictures as a 4x6 with the white border already on it, and it's going to go on these pink mats. So I pulled out 2 of those. And then I pulled out 3 colors of green, a dark green, and then I pulled out a color that was as close to my daughter's scrubs as I could find. And then I pulled out a lighter. So I've got a dark, medium, and a light. The first thing I need to do is cut these pieces down into a 4.5 by 6.5 piece, because that will give me 10 even triangles and 4 halves. I have each of my 3 colors cut down. Now to show you the next step, I'm going to use a plain white card. So again, we're cutting this 4.5 by 6.5, and then you're going to cut that 4.5 by 6.5 in half the long way. So you end up with 2 pieces that are 2.25 by 6.5. And then what you're going to do with those pieces is measure out to make a template. And I'll show you how we did this. My triangles are 2.125 wide at the base. So you're going to need a ruler and a pencil. And what I did was I measured from the corner of my paper here, I measured 2.125 and just do a little line. And then from the top edge, my triangle point is 1 1/16 inch. So I'm going to put my ruler up here and I'm going to go to 1 1/16, and I'm going to make a line right there. Now, from that point of that triangle to the next triangle is going to be the same width, which is 2.125. So I'm going to move my ruler over and go to 2.125 and put a line right there. So then I'll go over and do 2.125 again, right here. And from the bottom, I'm going to do 2.125 and 2.125, which is going to get me right up to the edge. And then all you need to do is go from the corner to that line, that 1 inch point at the top, and draw your line. And then the same to the other side. And then you can, since I did the measurements, I'm going to keep going. You could just do 1. If I was doing this on the my actual colors that I'm going to do, this is how you would do it. You would just continue on like so, and then you would cut on the lines to get your triangles. I'm actually going to continue to show you because there's a little trick at the end. So now you've got all of your triangles. Now, this one, oops, I didn't get that quite on the corner. I'm going to draw that line one more time. Right to the corner. Okay. Now, this side is a tiny bit longer than the other side. So what I'm going to do, let me show you. We'll start here. We're going to cut these apart. And you're going to use these half pieces. So we want to cut them so that we're not cutting into those. This end piece is just slightly bigger than this end piece. So I just take one and flip it over. I know you can't really see it because it's on white on white here. And then I just trim it down just slightly so that it matches. So that's how you would do this if you were doing all of it by hand. But what I suggest doing is measuring out and cutting a triangle and use it to trace on your actual pages. So I'm going to bring in one of my pieces here and my triangle, and I'm going to line it up. Get my pencil here. Line it up so that it's right in the corner, and then I'm just going to trace around my triangle. So there I've got my first color piece with my triangles. So then I'm just going to do the same thing. I'm going to go from the corner up, and I'm just kind of adjusting if my lines aren't perfect. So I can just check and see now if my end pieces came out the same. And now you can kind of see that this one is just slightly bigger, and that's where I'm going to take it and just trim it down. So I'm going to go ahead and get all my triangles and half pieces cut from all of my different colors, and then we'll come back and start laying this out. All right, I've got all my pieces cut, and I flipped them over so that the pencil side is down. So I've got my triangle halves separated from my regular triangles, and I'm going to start laying these out. Now, what I'm trying to do, as you can see in this one, is go dark, light. So I'm going to start with dark on this bottom corner. So let me grab those, and we will start with one of these corners. So I'm going to find one that matches up each side. And I probably won't use the dark all the way across because I want it to get lighter as I go. So I'm going to take one of the middle colors and put it on the other side. And then I think I want to have one full of the lighter triangle. So I just rotate that one upside down and then grab another one. And then the rest I think will all be dark. So I'm just going to pull from my pile and rotate them as I go. One up and one down. I should mention, you can make these triangles whatever size you want. You can make them smaller. You just know that you're going to have to cut more if you make them smaller. You could make them bigger. This is just how I chose to do it. So now that I've got them out, I can rearrange them so that they all fit in here with even white spaces between the triangles. Okay, now I definitely want the dark to go up a little bit more than just one row. So now I need to take one of my dark pieces and, oops, that one didn't get flipped over right. Okay, and put it the opposite. So we'll do it like this. And now I want there to be less dark going across, but I also need to be aware that my pictures are going to go in on some of this. So I'm going to go ahead and lay it out first, and then we'll lay out the pictures and see where they land. So let's go ahead and bring in pictures just as a reference point. I think I want to do them like this. And the other page, originally I wanted them to be tilted like this, but on this page I ended up having to put this down here. My daughter drew this as part of a competition to design a sweatshirt for the class, and she won. So this went on a sweatshirt that all the kids bought to wear, and I wanted to include it on the page. This year she doesn't have that, at least I don't think she does, but I may put a title down there or a little journaling this time that says more about the program. I may even scan the certificate and make it small. So for now I'm going to lay these out very similar to how the other page was. So you can see, let's bring in another, I'll just bring in let's bring in a 4x5. So we're going to lay this here just as a placeholder. So I definitely am going to need more. Actually, I think this one is going to go down a little bit lower. So I think I need one more triangle right here. But you can see that I'm out of the dark triangles now. So I'm going to go ahead and take the next darker color, which is this one, and I'll put that underneath right here. And for now, I'm going to put one under here to fill in this gap. But as we do this, as I go along and get my photos matted and play around with this a bit more, I can always move these triangles around. Okay, so I'm going to continue on with this color triangle, the darker one, going across the page. So I'm just going to keep going here. And then I need one of these. Okay, so now I've got darker into light. I think the next row up, I'll probably do the lighter. And I am going to have some of this color come down from the top. I think I want just to, let's see, we have a couple of those left. So if I do those two that I have left, along with one of the half, whoops, it's not the right half, this one. And then I know the top is going to go, so this kind of matches, this corner matches this corner. And now instead of doing dark, I'm going to do the lightest color. So I'm kind of bouncing from the top to the bottom to get this laid out properly. And there's no mistakes here. You can always move things around once you get it laid out. Or if you run out of one color, then you move some things around to get what you need. But for now, I'm just going to add these lighter ones across the top here to match what I have done on the bottom, but with a lighter color. So I just need to scoot these over to fit in my little half triangle at the end. Okay, and that one needs to be this one. Okay, so now you can kind of see how this is starting to come together, like so. So now I think what I want to do is finish up the edges here, like that. And I think over on this side, we're going to need one of these and one of these. And I may have to cut some additional triangles. I want, let's see here, I definitely want the corners to match, and I have more dark down here. So I'm going to go ahead and start with the light. Opposite of the dark corner will be the light corner. And we'll go ahead and lay a couple more of those down. Okay. And then I need to decide if I want to move some things to fill in the missing spaces, or how I want to go about this. So I think for starters, this triangle under here that's just showing this little point, it can come out. Because once I mat that photo, it'll go down here, and there will most likely be some embellishments here. So for now, we'll do that. And I think that one then needs to come up here, like that. Okay, and then I think maybe we need a little bit more. Let's put this one here for right now. And since I have this one left over and I don't need it, I could make that one work here. I would have to do some erasing. This one could probably go right here. And I do have this one as well. So we'll leave that to the side. So what I'm going to do next, before I decide if I want to cut more triangles, is kind of get my pictures matted and then lay them out and see what I need. Okay, I've gone ahead and matted my photos with a 1/4-inch mat, and I cut out another one to hold the place of my journaling or whatever is going to end up going down here. And now there's a couple of things that I see on how I want to change this. When I lay this down, I don't want to see all these points coming out of here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip my end pieces, how I started, and rearrange them so that it's more solid on this side. The other thing I decided is that when I looked at this one, I have more white between my triangles, and I like that. So I'm going to remove a triangle from each row as well. So I'm going to pull these out, and this is going to give me the extra triangles that I should need. So for starters, I want to pull this one out and swap it. So it's going to go like this instead. And then same with this side. It's going to go like this, swapping those. And then I'm going to take out one of my my lighter color triangle because I want it to go up, which then will probably move up here like this. And now we'll spread these out and just rotate them. So now there's going to be a little bit more of a white border, white spacing in between each of my triangles. Whoops. Yes, this is how I want it. So now that I have that, I can kind of readjust my triangles from the row above it, keeping in mind that I want to pull one out. And I'm going to pull out the dark one and move it up here so you can see the progression kind of diagonally shifting across the page. And now we have all that white space, although I'm still short. I think this is a triangle over here that I don't need right there, and that will go here. I'm going to pull out I think we'll pull out one of these darker ones, and we're going to need to rotate. So now pulling out the one, I can then go ahead and flip these or readjust them across the top. Okay. And this one will come down here, and this one will get flipped. So I may have to do a little bit of erasing on that one. Okay, so I'm going to pull this off as an extra as well, and we'll rotate these around. Okay, and now we can get a better idea of what we need. So now when I put this back on, you can see there's a lot less white sticky coming out, all those points. It's just more solid, and I like that. I know it's a very minor thing, but I do like that a lot better. And then this one is going to go right about here. So far so good, although this one could come out now, I can see, and I could use this instead and do like that. Because now when I put this over top, you barely see that little point sticking out there. Okay, and then this one is going to go over here like this. And I don't think we need any other over there. So now it looks like I've got these 3 pieces left, so I may have to cut a little bit more. Maybe, let's see, is there a way to get this one in there? Oh yeah, so that half can go there. That fills in that spot. And then let's put this one right here. Okay, and this one right here. I do know that my title is going to be the same. It's going to say EVIT, and I used these the party alphabet dies that goes with the party banner dies. So I'm using these real large die cut letters, and I cut out another EVIT title, and I cut it out once in black and once in white. And what I'm going to do, just like I did on the other one, is just layer the black underneath the white, just like this. And that's going to go across the middle right here. I'm going to do the same little paper strip I typed out on my computer that says East Valley Institute of Technology. So this corner is going to be exactly the same. So I know that's going to happen. But what I want to do, if you can see on this one, is I used my Wink of Stella glitter paint pens, and I splattered some spots around this. So that's what we're going to do next. But in order to do that, we need to get the triangles stuck down. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to show you kind of how I did this to make sure that they get on there as even as possible. I basically started with the corners. So I'm just going to put a little bit of adhesive on here. I will later go back and put some liquid glue under these, but I'm going to get that one lined up just perfectly in the corner, like so. Make sure you don't see any white. My paper below it. I have to move that to see that. Okay, so that one's good. And then I'm going to go do the other corner. Okay, so that one's going to go over here. Again, right in that corner, making sure that I get nice and straight without seeing any of my base layer poking out underneath it. Okay, I'm just going to line these up to make sure, when I look at it just with my eye, that it looks spaced out correctly, with roughly the same amount of white showing. So I think that looks pretty good. So I am just going to very carefully pull out one towards the center. I don't start at the edge, because if my spacing gets off, by the time you get to the other side, it's really off. So if you kind of start in the middle and work your way over, then if there's a slight spacing problem, it's kind of spread across the whole line of triangles, and it doesn't all end up showing at one end or the other. So there's your first layer. But once I get this bottom line done, I do space out my sides next, because I don't want to do the entire rows and then get up to the top here and realize that my spacing is off. So I am going to go ahead and stick down this corner, and then I'll space out these other ones. There we go. That way I have a reference point to keep going. I already have my reference point for the rest of these triangles. I can reference the bottom row for spacing, because I can just take, like, this one should basically line up with that one, and the points should line up together. So this one, the point, and then the flat, and then the point. So I do have a reference point for those. But if I don't get these side ones down, then I could potentially end up getting to the top here and not having if I put the corner up here, I'd have a huge gap of white showing, and I want them to be as kind of uniform as possible. So now I have a reference point going up this, giving me a starting point for each of my rows, and I have one across here giving me a reference point as I go up. All right, I have everything, all of my triangles glued down, and I ended up with one extra half a piece. I did not have to cut any more triangles. I'll pick this up so you can see. I could potentially get rid of this one, but I don't think it's necessary. It is fully covered, but I'm not going to use it for anything else, so I'm just going to leave it there. I've laid these out how I'm pretty sure I want them, spacing wise. I've got my letters up here, leaving enough room for the word strip to go below it. And I'm pretty happy with that. So looking at this, I know that I want to do some splatters on this side, definitely over here, and a few on the top and corner. So I am going to go ahead and remove all of these pieces. We'll just set those off to the side. And I'm going to bring in my glass mat that I use. I haven't cleaned it from the last one. This is what I'm going to put my ink onto. I apologize for my ring light. I don't have a different light, so you just have to deal with that. And then I have my handy dandy box here. If you've watched my videos before, you've seen this box. It's what I use so that I don't make a gigantic mess. So I'm going to go ahead and lay my layout in there. I'm going to bring in a pencil and my Wink of Stella black pen. So for now, I'm just going to move this off to the side. And I'm going to need to scoot this over a little bit more so that you're able to see everything that I'm doing here. Okay, so what I'm going to do is take my Wink of Stella marker here, pop the cap off very carefully, and this is just a brush, you can see. It's like a paintbrush. And I'm going to give it a little shake, not too much because I don't want to make a mess. And I'm just going to squeeze extra ink out onto my glass mat. I want to have enough that I can pick it up onto my brush and splatter it onto my paper. Okay, let's start with that. And now I'll bring this in, and all I'm going to do is hold the brush out and tap it with my pencil so that I get some splatters. And I'm going to angle it down a little bit and fairly close because I want my splatters to be fairly big. I'm going to start in this corner, and I'm just going to, okay, so I don't feel like I have enough. Let me squeeze a little bit more out onto my glass mat here. There we go. That's what I need. Okay, and now let's do some on this little section right here, and then down here around where my journaling will go. I don't need a bunch up here, but I'll put a couple because that's where the title is going to go. And then I want to get a few more down here. And up on the side. And if you're not familiar with this Wink of Stella, it is sparkly. It's got some glitter shine to it. Okay, I think that's going to do it. I'm going to set this off to the side to dry. Can you see? Let's find a good spot for you to see. I'll pick it up at the end as well. You should be able to see little glitters. The other thing I did for this layout, knowing what I'm going to do for embellishments, and while I've got my glitter marker out, is I have this really old heart punch. And I just took some scrap pieces of white cardstock, and I'm going to cut out, I think I did 7. I'm just going to cut out a handful of these hearts, or punch them out. And then what I did was I just used my little kind of pointy tool here from my Cricut tools, and I used this ink from the pen, and I painted these hearts because now they'll be black and they'll be glitter. I'll pick these up at the end once they're dry so I can show you, but they're really pretty because that ink is just full of sparkles. Everything is dry now, and I've laid it back out onto my mat. I've got my little glitter hearts here that I have just laid around. Let me see if I can bring this up a little bit so you can see the sparkle from the ink. Super pretty. So I've just laid those around. Nothing is glued down. I cut out a smaller white piece just to put here so I know what it was going to look like once I've got some journaling or a picture of her certificate here. And then I gone ahead and I just put one little strip of adhesive on the middle of these just to tack them down. I can still pick it up all the way around and I can take the whole thing off if I needed to. I went ahead and stuck my letters down. On this first page, she's wearing her stethoscope, so we did that. I did the veterinary kind of logo. Her first year tag down here, that I do want to do again. I don't think I want to do the exact same embellishments, but I do love that it's kind of pet focused, and Taylor has been allowed to take her little dog a few times to class, and so I used this. I made this little dog. Is it so cute? I have these outline stickers from Crazy Creations. They're super cool. You peel just the outline of it. Let me find my little tool here so I can show you. So if I pick up this piece right here, then the whole, just the outline comes up. And I've gone ahead and stuck the outline down on just a white piece of paper, and then I use my alcohol markers to just color it in. I was going to just leave the whole thing white, but it was a little bit too white, so I just made a cute little dog. And I'm thinking about putting that right there. So I am going to work on this little tag, this second year tag, and let me show you what I'm using for that. I have a die cut set that I picked up from a neighbor when she was selling a few things, and it's called Mix It Up, and it's just some speech boxes, different tags, and banner pieces, and I'm going to use that. And what I am using is this one right here. So I'm using that, and I'm going to cut out one of those in this darkest color, and then one in the medium, the mid color. And then the light color is going to have the second year writing on it. And what I did was I just took a regular piece of printer paper and I printed out second year on it. And then I took my lightest piece of paper that I had cut into a strip and I layered it on top of that, stuck it down, and ran it through my printer again because I don't have a full sheet of this color. And now I'm going to take this die cut and I'm going to layer it on top of it like that, and then we'll go ahead and cut it out. I am going to make sure that this cuts a little hole in the tag, and I want to make sure the hole is on the right side. And here's what we get. And I want to make a correction. This die that I just used came from the Greetings of the Season stamp set. This is from last year's catalog, some of the Christmas sets that came out. And this is one of those pieces that came with the die set. What I did with this is I just took a black felt pen and I just drew a black border around it. I don't really mind if it's straight or not. Obviously I want it to be as straight as possible, but I think some hand drawn things are kind of nice. So I kept it right inside. I don't know if you can see the die has like a little stitched, little dotted border. And so I'm going to draw my line right inside of that. And I'm just going to do my best to keep it straight. And I'm going to go all the way around the inside of that kind of hole punched border. And I did this on the other page too. So there's that. And that's going to go here. And then with my two tags here, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just going to draw around the edges. And then what I did is I went and took a white piece of cardstock and I put the little bit of adhesive on the back and I put it down onto this little piece of cardstock. And then I'm just going to cut along the edges just to give it a little bit of a white border, because I do want it to pop off of the background. Since the triangles are the same color, it might be a little bit harder for this to show up without something separating it. And then this will go right under there like that. And then I took some of this baker's twine, and then I just tied a bow and trim the edges. So I'm going to go ahead and tie this like that, and then tie my little bow, and then I just kind of turned it the way that I wanted it, and then I'll line those up so it looks like they're all tied together, but they're not actually. So that will go here. Okay, I think what I'm going to do is kind of stick with the round badge type embellishments that I have on here, but instead of doing paw prints, I'm going to stick with the hearts. I did cut out a circle punch that is, I think, very close to that size, a tiny bit bigger, and that's going to go up here. And I have this heart, these heart cutting dies from Recollection, and I'm going to take this little heart and cut it out there out of this the darker triangle color. And then I'm going to take, I had a couple of leftover hearts that are around here somewhere, and I'm going to put one of those in the middle. And then I think what I'm going to do down here is just cut out a larger heart, maybe this size. Let's see if I can pop that off there, and tuck it in right here, maybe a couple of sizes, maybe that one and this one. That might be cute. Here's what I ended up with. I cut out another black circle and put a smaller white circle. To me, it kind of looks like the center of a stethoscope. And then I put the darkest small heart and one more of my glitter hearts. And I'm going to put that up here in this corner. And then I've got my dog down here. And then I cut out another black circle and this white heart I made by taking this die and cutting out that heart. And then I put this one on top of it and cut it out again. So it left me with the inside of the smaller heart and the outline of the larger. And I put that on top of the circle, and then a smaller of the light colored heart. And I'm just going to tuck that in right there. And then the last thing I'm going to do on this one for now is peel off some of these paw prints and give me a chance to show you how these outlines work. It's a little bit tricky, but once you get the outline picked up, so this time the center piece kind of came with it. So let's pull that out. Okay, and then I'm just going to take this and figure out, I think I'll put one up here. That's really cute. And let's put that one, let's put it over here. That's cute. And then I usually like to work in trios, so I'm going to do one more. I want to put one down here. So now I've got a few little paw prints around. If I wanted to, I could take the time to peel these off, and then it would make more of a solid paw print. Now, I rarely leave a layout unfinished, but because the school year is in progress and she's not done, and I know she's going to be getting her assistant certificate, there's going to be a story to tell. And I don't know what that story is yet, but I had these pictures and I really wanted to get them done while the first layout was fresh. Let me pick this up for you. I hope you can see the sparkle on the hearts. It's the same sparkle on these splatter. It's really pretty when you look at it in person. So there's my hearts and my little dog. So now you can see I have 2 pages, year 1 and year 2, that are very, very, very similar, but not exactly the same. And that's what I wanted them. I wanted them to match each other, but not exactly. So if you liked this video, please give me a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button. You'll get a notification if you click on that bell every time I post a video. And get ready for Halloween. I've got some really exciting things coming with those Halloween videos. I've got a really neat design guide that will be available that will help with all of your Halloween pages for a very, very long time. So again, if you liked this video, please give me a thumbs up, leave any comments, questions below, and I will catch you all in the next one. Thanks for watching. Happy crafting, everybody.